Okay, it's 12:02, which is a couple minutes after this webinar was scheduled to begin, and we've turned off the music, and I'm going to get started. So welcome to this webinar with Hostfully and Vrbo, and we are so excited to be presenting you with some really interesting market insights today and secrets for how you can optimize your listing and get more revenue. Let's get into the content here. So our speakers, and if I could have our speakers please come on video so that we could see you. Our speakers today are Julia and Stephanie, both from Vrbo. Julia is an account manager in partner success, and Stephanie is a market development manager, and they're going to be presenting some really interesting content that will be very fascinating no matter where you are located in the country, but especially if you are located in a rural mountainous region or a beach region, because they're going to be talking specifically about what you can do in your rentals to really optimize your listing and get the most value out of it. My name is Margot Schmorak. I am the CEO and co-founder of Hostfully. I'm thrilled to be here. Vrbo is one of our most favorite partners. We have many favorites, of course, but we love working with Vrbo, and our clients do too, because we know how much value Vrbo can bring to our clients in helping them get broader distribution and more revenue with great guests too. Just a quick reminder before we get into the presentation today, Hostfully is a vacation rental manager software platform. We have two different products. We have the property management platform, and we have digital guidebooks. With our property management platform, you can distribute your inventory across multiple bookings sites, including Vrbo. We also offer a beautiful direct bookings website, automated messages, payment processing, reports, analytics, and a lot more. And our digital guidebooks products is the best in the industry. Using this, you can help to boost your guest experience to make it more professional. You can reduce the number of unnecessary questions you get from guests that are staying in your rental and upsell your products and services using the Hostfully marketplace. You can also collect guest emails and sign agreements using our splash pages. And at the end of the day, using Hostfully digital guidebooks will help you get more 5-star reviews and better ratings, which is always good, especially when it comes to bookings platforms. The property management platform, here's a quick peek at it. Terry White from VRMB, of which we won the Keystone Award back-to-back in 2019 and 2021, called it one of the best softwares I've ever seen. Here we're showing you how our pipeline is super visual, and our dashboard, so you can easily see what reservations are coming in and what next steps you need to take. And here's a quick picture of our digital guidebooks that are basically a mini mobile website for your listing. The one customer said, "I'm totally blown away by the guidebook platform. It saves so much time, and it created a way for me to be more professional and modern than using a document or a PDF file." So if you haven't checked out these products, please do. You can always email sales@hostfully.com, chat us on our website, or find us any other way you'd like. You can even email me personally, margot@hostfully.com. So without further ado, I am so excited to present Stephanie from Vrbo, who's going to be talking about why property managers should be looking at Vrbo. I think the answer is kind of obvious, but you're here to explain even more about that, and why now? Why is it so important today in 2021 to be thinking about Vrbo as a professional property manager? So thank you, Stephanie, and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, and thank you all for taking the time to join us. As Margot mentioned, I'm a senior market development manager here with Vrbo. We're based in Austin. So I apologize if my portable air conditioner knocks on as I'm talking. That's the benefits of living in Texas, and my ear for my house just can't keep up. The goal for my team, for the market development manager team, is to find high quality, family friendly, in-demand properties and get them listed with Vrbo. So that's one of the reasons, of course, we've invited you all here today. Also, if you're already listing on Vrbo, that's awesome and great. And we want to make sure that we're offering you the tips and tricks for optimizing your listings. This can be done with some really great data that we're able to provide. So I wanted to go over really quick just the value of Vrbo and what we do offer. So we're known for our high quality travelers. We bring exceptional travelers straight to your doorstep and specialize in connecting families and friends with the perfect vacation rental. In fact, 88% of our travelers are planning to travel with family. We also have essential business insights. So as mentioned, I'm on the partner success team. I'm a market development manager. You're going to hear from Julia. She's on the partner success team as well, and she's an account manager and works with optimization. And then we also have our integration optimization team. And all of our jobs are to just make sure that you guys are as successful on our site as possible. We provide dashboard tools, market maker, reviews tool, market insights. And I'm going to go through a couple of these really cool tools that we do provide and the data that you can get from there. Of course, we're here to help you make the best business decisions and prepare for rebound. We provide more exposure because we're actually a part of Expedia Group. You actually benefit from getting even more exposure on all of our websites. Simple and efficient management. So simple onboarding, and that's thanks to, again, Hostfully and having that connection with Hostfully and Vrbo. We also have a self-service onboarding tool. So you can literally click a link and it'll walk you through the process on getting you connected. 24/7 resources, increased bookings, just all great benefits. So I know I spoke about the Vrbo Traveler a little bit, but let's dive in a little bit deeper. So a huge stat about Vrbo is we get 15.9 million monthly unique visitors, and that number is just continuing to grow. Currently, we're seeing more new users than ever before, and we can accredit a lot of that to the marketing and advertising, but as well as there's a big shift from hotels to vacation rentals in this last year. I don't know if any of y'all stream your TV or movies or anything like I do, but typically I see at least one Vrbo or Expedia commercial during shows, and so that makes me happy, and it's also showing that marketing has really definitely hit the ground running. They've really gone for a focus of family and group travel, and in the last few years, and it's really paid off. So a majority of our travelers are 35 years old. 67% of those on Vrbo or that use Vrbo are parents, and over half make about $100,000 a year. The Vrbo traveler typically stays longer, they spend more, and they're larger family type groups. Think about it. So that's less turnover because they're staying longer, which in turn will help save money. And you're also receiving that higher quality travel. That's one of the biggest feedbacks that I receive from property managers is that they prefer Vrbo bookings and travelers more than any other site. And that's because of those general travelers typically are staying longer and they're spending more, and they typically will receive an average review higher of about 4.5 stars. So if the guests are happy, property managers are happy, property owners are happy, we're all really happy. And now kind of going into what we've all been waiting for, the vacation rental battle royale. So welcome to our first ever vacation rental battle royale. This is a face-off between beach versus mountain, specifically Florida versus Colorado, and even more specific, we did Panama City versus Breckenridge on my slides, and I think Julia has a couple different mountain areas as well. The reason we chose these destinations is because they are two of the top destinations, and it's really going to give us a nice guide for both beach versus mountain. As you can see on this slide, from a survey that was sent out, it did ask, where do you see yourself traveling in the next 18 months? Beach was 45%, mountain and rural were 47%. I will say we did combine mountain and rural areas, so that's why that's probably a little higher, but looking at this slide so far, I would say that mountain is winning out. So let's start with mountain, which in this case, we're using, again, Breckenridge, Colorado for our data. We're pulling this data from our market insights report. It has a wealth of information and is something we make accessible to all of our property managers when requested. So if you see in the left for occupancy rate, the average occupancy we're seeing for this market is 66%. Now, keep in mind, all of this data is going to be about a quarter behind. So the numbers we're getting are about a quarter behind because we need the time to pull the data and get it all up to date. If we're moving over to seasonal averages, there's a 38% increase in average daily rates during high season. Those months for Colorado are December, January, February, and March. You can also see a little bit of change from our travelers. Normally, our travelers would book pretty far in advance, but this has actually decreased about 29% during high season. So we're seeing a lot more last minute bookings. And I think we all kind of understand probably why. There's just so much unknown with COVID and what's going on that people are booking a little bit closer just to find out what's going to happen in the world. But also flexications. I'm working from home. I'm sure some of y'all are able to work from home. So you're able to pick up and just go with your family and get that vacation rental and work from home. So that's probably another reason why you don't have to plan out as far in advance, because you can just kind of last minute go for it. The middle section is going to be property inventory by bedroom. And this is going to show that 2-bedroom homes make up the largest proportion of properties, while 1-bedroom homes have the most booked nights, which is surprising when we're going to look at Florida in a second. So we'll cover that in a sec. Average daily rate has increased year over year and is broken down. Again, it's by bedroom type, which gives you a really nice insights if you have a 1-bedroom, what the average daily rate is. But most of these have actually seen increases over the last year. I'll show this slide on average daily rates a little bit more zoomed in on the next slide, or 2 slides from here. And you're also able to find top features and amenities for your area. And Julia, my coworker, will dive in a little deeper into that, so I'm not going to mention that. So these are going to be little snippets that I'm pulling from the Market Insights report. It's actually a 6-page long report, and it's specific to each area. So there's a lot more information to dive into, but we did pull a couple snippets. So how does this all compare to Florida? So Panama City has seen an insane amount of searches and inquiries in the last 8 months due to, again, seasonality. So in most cases during summer, we didn't even have enough inventory to fill the demand we had in certain spots. You'll see that the average of occupancy is going to be 66%. But again, remember, this report is going to be pulled, it's going to be a quarter behind. So that means you're seeing a much higher number next quarter on this same report because summer is just now happening. So moving over to seasonal averages, there is a 22% increase in average daily rate. During high season, those months in 2020 were June, July, August, and September, which was different from 2019, and that was April, May, June, and July. So what do we think the high seasons are going to be for 2021? We'll have to wait for the next report. Looks like we're still seeing that change on the last minute bookings. It has decreased again by 30% during high season. So we're still seeing, people being able to do last minute bookings. Property inventory by bedroom shows 2 bedrooms. Homes make up the largest proportion of properties, while 5 bedrooms are the most booked nights. So that's pretty interesting when you are comparing it to Colorado. Their market said 1 bedrooms had the most booked nights. I wonder why. And we'll go into that a little bit more. Average daily rate has increased again year over year. You're seeing it's broken down by bedroom type, and the rates just keep going. The average daily rates just keep going up, which is great. And then again, top amenities, I'll let Julia go over. So how can we use this data that we're able to pull, we're able to see, but how can we use that to help determine our decisions and create strategies? So are you priced correctly? This is going to be average daily rates. Both markets side by side. It's comparing your average daily rate. As you can see, most have had a pretty nice increase in their average daily rate. And both of these are top destinations. It's just going to continue. So don't undercut or overcut yourself. Use the tools we provide to help you with your rates. Market Maker being one of those. And I'll go into explain a little bit more about Market Maker in a couple of slides from here. But also watch your fees. Properties with fees at or below their nightly rate see 50% more bookings. So if somebody is booking a property that's $200 a night, and then they go to check out and it's $500 worth of fees, that's normally when you'd see a booking abandoned. So work those fees into your nightly rates so that you don't get that surprise for the traveler and then they abandon the booking. And then of course, seasonality. So don't forget to adjust your rates during high season and lower them during low season. As you saw in those previous slides, the average daily rate for high season on both of these increased anywhere from 22% to 28%. So make sure you are increasing your rates during high season and you're lowering them during your low season to get those bookings. Is your minimum night stay hurting you? So this is a pretty interesting slide to me. You're able to see that in both cases, 4 to 6 nights is the sweet spot for bookings. Panama has a close second of 7 to 13, and Colorado goes the opposite way, being less than 3, which actually kind of gives me a little bit more insight as to why 1 bedrooms may be booked more in Colorado. If you're just doing a weekend night stay in Colorado, you really only need the 1 bedroom. Even if you have a couple of kids, they can go in the living room. But if you're planning a 2-week vacation, you're going to want to have that space to spread out. And that's why 5 bedrooms are probably the most booked. I think we really need to point out, especially for Colorado, if you have a minimum night stay of 7 nights, you could be positioning yourself out of the market and out of searches. The sweet spot here is a minimum of 4 to 6. So if you change it to a minimum of 6 nights instead of 7, how many more times are you going to show up in search and actually receive more bookings because of that 1 night?
Do you think, Stephanie, do you think that this also has to do with the fact that people in Breckenridge are driving to destinations versus flying to Florida? Do you think that there's something with that, with like the weekend stay versus a longer stay?
Possibly. I mean, we're seeing a huge increase in, yes, drivable distances. That's where people want to be. So domestic, obviously. I think people probably drive to Florida as well. So I'm sure it has something to do with it, but I don't know for a fact. Yeah.
Thanks.
But good point. Okay, so all right, the news we've all been waiting for. Who is the winner between beach and Colorado? Beaches, you're the winners. Mountains, you're the winners. Colorado, you're the winners. Florida, you're the winner. Everyone is a winner. You're all getting bookings from Vrbo. You all have access to this data and have people who want you to be successful on our site. So I would say you're all winners.
I forgot to show my trophy belt, but they're all winners.
Yeah,
have a wrestling belt here for the webinar. No, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was really close. I mean, there's different things that we could pull, metrics that we could pull. So average daily rate. Colorado was the winner there. They had a higher average daily rate going through the entire way down, no matter what bedroom type. Occupancy rate. It was actually a tie, which is really crazy. Because I think next report, you're going to see Florida shoot up, and then 2 reports from now, you'll probably see Colorado Mountain shoot up. But it's pretty crazy that they were both 66%. Colorado was the review rates winner. So they had a higher review rating, average review rating. And then Florida came in at search results and inquiries. And again, if you think of it being a quarter behind, everyone was planning their summer vacations at that time. So that's why we're seeing searches and inquiries for those summer vacations for the beach. In a couple of months, we're going to be seeing those search results and inquiries for people planning their winter vacations. So everything is based on seasonality. You really need to keep that in mind when setting your rates. And then, so I just want to finish my section out with talking about a couple of other amazing tools. We talked a lot about market insights. That's where I pulled a lot of my data. Again, this is information that we can pull for you, and we can send it over to you via PDF. It's a 6-page document, and it has some really cool insights as to how you can strategize and maximize all your bookings. Then we also have, of course, Market Maker, and I'll go into that next slide. Fast Start program, self-service onboarding, strong starts. So there's so many different ways that we can help and that we want to help you be successful. So Market Maker, it's an online tool that's exclusive to our partners that delivers detailed market data. It helps you make informed rate decisions and improve your performance and build revenue. So as you can see, I have 2 little snippets, and on the bottom right, you're actually able to see the rate of unbooked properties in your area, the rate of booked properties in your area, the rate of searches last year compared to searches this year, as well as occupancy and forecasted occupancy. So you can see that fluctuate. I'm sure if you zoomed into, say, March, spring break week, your forecasted occupancy is going to be extremely high. And so those are the times that you really need to be looking and increasing your average daily rate, because that's high season. And that's probably for both markets. In the top left, you're actually going to see your comp set. So who are we comparing you to? These are people on Vrbo with vacation rentals, and we actually give you a percentage of rating that we match you with. So this example shows 82% match, meaning they probably are in the same location, they have the same amount of bedrooms, bathrooms, and then there's all this other stuff that goes into the algorithm that I will never be able to understand. But it shows you who we're matching you with and why we're matching you with them. If there's one that has a 40% match, you can actually remove them from your comp set. You know your market better than anyone. So if there's someone that we're listing out as a comparable and you're like, they're not a competitor at all, remove them. You have that ability on Market Maker. And then we have Fast Start. This rolled out probably about 2 months ago, and it was in the news. It's got a lot of buzz around it because it's a really cool program, especially for some any net new property. It's going to be at the listing level. So even if you're already live with us, you still have access to the Smart Start or the Fast Start program. If you are a net new account, then all of your listings would have access to it. The feedback that we were getting from our property managers was that cold starts are hard. That you have no history, so it's really hard to start over, and it just seemed a little daunting to a lot of our property managers. So we created this program that it creates credibility around you. So for potential travelers to book by highlighting your current average property rating data from other sites when you add a new listing on. So as you can see, there's a couple of badges here. It says new to Vrbo, and then it actually shows a rating, and it says from other travel sites. The rating will appear on your new listing during the first 90 days of going live or until you receive a review on Vrbo. You're also eligible with this program to actually have your listings appear a little higher in search. So again, we're trying to get over that step of being just cold with no history. We want you to get those first couple of bookings so you have reviews to share with our travelers. And then self-service onboarding. I kind of touched on this already, but it just makes connecting with Vrbo through Hostfully so much easier. You literally can click a link and it'll walk you through the steps to get you live. If, of course, you come across any issues, my team can help. We have an onboarding team that can help. So there's always going to be direct contacts for you to reach out to make sure that you are able to get live. But this makes it so you can do it on your own time. It's typically a lot faster because it's all automated. And then the very last step, so we've gotten you live, you're on Vrbo, you're connected, everything's great. The very last step is we can offer a strong start consult, and that's typically done with my team because we're kind of with you through onboarding, making sure you get successfully loaded on and live. Then we have our strong start consult. Normally you'll be live for about a week, and you can schedule this. And this is going to be us walking you through your completed listings, discussing ideas and that other successful property managers have adopted, and then offer any recommendations when we're looking at your listings if we see ways that we can optimize it all. And then, of course, we have our account manager team, which is Julia's team, as well as our integration optimization team that kind of takes over from there. So after you're with my group for about a quarter, we get you live, we do the strong start, we're there as your contact. Then you also have the capability of having either an account manager or integration optimization that can provide those consults throughout the year if you request them. So these are two really important links. One is going to be the email. If you have any questions that we can't get answered today and you're interested in listing on Vrbo, then fill out the email sales inquiry request and you'll get to my team. And then we have self-service onboarding. So this is the link for self-service onboarding. You could literally click it and start walking through the process on getting connected.
I just wanted to interject here too. I forgot to mention this in the beginning. We have some polling questions in this webinar, and it would be really helpful for the speakers, Stephanie and Julia, if you can fill those out. So the polling questions are like, what bookings channels are you using today? Are your properties live on Vrbo? About how many properties do you manage? Where are you based? And these would be really helpful for us to see as we kind of continue with the content. So please, if you're listening and paying attention, please go ahead and fill out those polls. The other thing I forgot to mention is that I have my second prop here. We got this cool award in the mail. Like, have you even seen one of these in a while? It's been about like 5 years since I've seen one of these, but I could not be more thrilled to receive it. This is our preferred partner status award that we got for Hostfully. And it sits here on my dining room table, and my children are very excited about it. But we're really excited to be a preferred partner. I mean, this helps us develop these close relationships with Vrbo so that we can bring the latest and greatest features to our customers and make sure that the connection that we provide with Vrbo is the most stable and secure and reliable. So just wanted to let you all know that you're in good hands working with Hostfully and Vrbo together. Sorry to interject. Wanted to let you guys get back to the content, but wanted to mention the polls. So please fill those out if you're listening. Thank you.
Absolutely. And great call out, because I saw those polls and I would love to know the answers to those. So yes, please fill those out. It would be very helpful for both of us to be able to follow up. And I think we are actually now moving on to Julia.
Excellent. Thanks, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Longley. I am an account manager for our integrated partners over at Vrbo. And my role is to help our partners optimize their listings. So, how can you be more successful on Vrbo? How can you get more bookings? That's my job. So, I manage 125 accounts all across the country. Some of my partners manage properties. I have a portfolio of 5 properties. Some of my partners manage 500 listings. So I wanted to give some content to really provide some insights on how to become successful with Vrbo. The last time Hostfully ran a presentation, we did one of those polls, and thank you for the feedback. It does play a role in the type of material that we are presenting, but the feedback that we got was how to be more successful on Vrbo. And so ask, you shall receive. And so we have come up with the big 4. The big 4 are here the top things that you can do to your listings to be more successful on our site. And that is great content, consistent and competitive rates, accepting and honoring bookings, and excellent feedback as well. So to dive right in, what is great content? There's a lot that goes into content. Some of that comes down to photos, amenities, and also keeping your content current. So the first thing, quality photos. Photos are worth 1,000 words. And at Vrbo, you have 50 opportunities to add new listings. That's 50,000 words you have to really demonstrate the experiences that travelers are going to have when they arrive at your listing. And the photos that you have really are supposed to wow and inspire people and paint the picture of what it's going to be like to stay at your property as well. And so we always recommend having really high quality photos and having a large image volume as well. Having at least 25 photos increases trust of travelers by 88%. But not only just volume, we also want quality as well. One of the most important things that I recommend to my partners is having a very strong hero image. That is the first image that you see when you're doing a search for Vrbo. And so if I was going to, let's say, Panama City, obviously the number one thing I want when I'm going to Panama City Beach, I want to be near the beach, but I also want a pool as well. And so if I'm looking through the search results and I see these 2 properties, which one am I going to choose? It's most likely going to be the second one. It's not going to be that first photo because that worries me and makes me think that it's probably not the nicest property to stay at. So that first image really will impact the overall success that you're going to have on our site as well. So really be mindful of that quality of the first image as well. So the main question, how many photos do I need on the listings? As I mentioned, having 25 photos increases traveler trust by 88%, but the more, the better. I compared Colorado Springs with Panama City Beach. This is looking over the last 365 days from last quarter. But in Colorado Springs, properties with more than 30 photos generated 59% of the revenue in the market. And in Panama City Beach, properties with more than 30 photos generate 70% of the revenue in the market. And as you can see by the 2 graphs, the more photos you have, the better. I see so many partners who are just getting started with us and they're struggling. They come to me asking, why are these properties not performing? And I'll take a look as from the perspective of a traveler and see 5 images. Personally, if I was a traveler and I came upon a property that only had 5 images, I'm not going to really trust it. And so I'm going to move on to the property that really shows more. And that's the way our travelers think as well. So the more, the better. 30 should definitely be the sweet spot for you. Amenities are also incredibly valuable. With every search, travelers use on average 7 filters. And so we really want to make sure that your properties are included in all of the search results. And so I compared Panama City Beach along with Colorado Springs for the last 365 days. These are the top filters that travelers are using. So in Panama City, beachfront, pool, house, beach. In Colorado Springs, house, hot tub, pool, internet, and Wi-Fi. If travelers are using these filters, but you have not selected them in in your amenities list, then you're not going to be included in those search results. So it's incredibly valuable to make sure that you have selected the box for internet and Wi-Fi, or you've selected hot tub. Those small little things really make a significant impact on the performance on our site. Now, one other thing that I want to mention here is house and the property type. I have a lot of partners that will like to list their properties as a chalet or a villa. But in reality, travelers are looking for houses on our site. And so you're much, much better off by listing your property as a house instead of a chalet or a villa. You're going to be included in a lot more search results and see a lot more success on our site as well. Keeping up with travel trends. The world is changing. COVID has made travel a completely different world. And so we want to make sure that we are staying up to date with what travelers are looking for. And so we have a little bit of data. Right now, travelers are staying in the driver's seat. Drive to destinations are incredibly huge this year. And so if your property is easy to get to, if it's driving distance, if you have great parking, talk about it in the descriptions of your properties. Mention it in the headlines. Seeking wide open spaces. Travelers are looking to get away from people. They're looking to go and explore, get out in nature. They don't want to be in busy, condensed areas. Are you next to national parks? Are there great walking trails? Talk about it in your description. And also mixing work and play, flexcation. So many people are working from home, myself included. There's also a lot of online education, and people now have the opportunity to mix work with their vacation. So do your properties have high-speed internet access? Are there great places to work from the house, nice cozy corners to work for the day? Talk about that in your description. This is what travelers are looking for as well. Now, rates. It's incredibly important to stay consistent and competitive in the marketplace. Adjusting for local events, holidays, and seasonality are really, really valuable. We recommend use as many tools in your tool belt, like Market Maker, to really make sure that you are staying competitive in the marketplace and that you are getting the best value and you're bringing in as much revenue as possible as well, and that we're bringing in as many bookings. So use Market Maker and work with your account manager if you need some assistance on how to utilize these tools. We're always happy to help and provide assistance. And again, as Stephanie went over, we do have the ability to compare rates within your competitive set within Vrbo as well. So we have the ability to look and identify who your top competitors are, where are the properties that are most like your listing, and find out what their rates are so you can make sure that you're in line and staying competitive in the marketplace as well. And accepting and honoring bookings. It's really, really valuable to accept and make sure that you are bringing people into your and allowing them to stay at your listings. Instant Book is an incredibly valuable tool to make sure that your acceptance rate stays at a 100%. As we know, acceptance rates play a factor in your premier host status. So it's very, very important to make sure that you're accepting as many people as possible. But also cancellation rates you need to be mindful of. Obviously, try not to cancel on your guests, but in a COVID world, some things are out of your control. If you find that you're having to cancel or you're getting cancellations due to COVID, make sure that you're marking your cancellations correctly in your software as well, and your account manager can give you some guidance on that too. And finally, this is my favorite subject to talk about. I love reviews. I could go on and on and on about reviews. And the reason why, reviews drive bookings. Personally, when I am using Vrbo, the number one thing other than photos that I'm using when I'm making and deciding where I'm going to stay is the overall review score. And this is just how travelers behave. We live in an Amazon world where reviews drive all of our purchases. And so we've built a two-way process in order to generate reviews within the Vrbo dashboard. So I always recommend to my partners, log into your Vrbo dashboard on a weekly basis to request reviews and to rate travelers. That's going to be the number one way to get your review volume up, which will build some additional trust with your potential travelers as well. And so in Colorado Springs, properties with more than 20 reviews generate 75% of the revenue, and 37% of the properties have more than 20 reviews. And in Panama City Beach, properties with more than 20 reviews generate 57% of the revenue, and 32% of the properties have more than 20 reviews as well. And so again, the big question, how do I get those reviews? How do I get that first one? The Fast Start program is a great way to get some credibility on our site if you don't have any reviews. And we also have new listing badges that have just been released for new listings that are brought onto the Vrbo site as well. This is a great way to build credibility and trust while you don't have any reviews. But once you get those initial bookings, again, really be sure to log into the Vrbo dashboard and request reviews on a regular basis to make sure that we're getting those initial reviews to start building some additional credibility on our site. And that's all I have. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Julia. I think there's so much in there around tips. I hope people were writing these things down, or you can always actually watch this webinar again if you want to go back through and make your list.
And also get in touch with your Vrbo account manager as well. Always, we are here to help you. So if you have someone at Vrbo, reach out, give us a call. We're always here to help.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Sorry about that phone call. That was very sudden. I thought it might be helpful for people to hear some of the questions and answers that are going on in the question and answer section, of which I realize that the viewers of this presentation cannot see. I believe that the moderators can see them. Julia, can you see those questions? And Stephanie?
I can, yes. And I
Yes.
believe we've been answering them too, which is helpful as well.
Yeah, we have, yeah. But I just thought it'd be helpful for others to hear, because they can't see other people's questions.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? So I'll just read off some of the things that people have mentioned. So Tanisha Kennedy asks, would any of this data be impacted by COVID? For example, Florida had more spikes than Colorado, so perhaps less people have been traveling there in the last 18 months. Did you compare this data prior year comparisons? And Treelock actually answered this question, and he said, Florida has actually had really strong first 2 quarters of this year in 2021 in certain markets versus last year. And if you're looking for specific information on any market during a certain period, please reach out to your account manager. So just if you're looking for specific market information, which we said a few times, make sure to reach out to your account manager. But that's interesting about Florida. These are there's some really specific ones about slides that I don't think are going to be that helpful.
I've got one that David actually just sent in, and so I wanted to call it out. He asks, if I don't have a contact at Vrbo, who should I email? We have a specific support line for our integrated partners, which is a great contact to have. Everyone should have the number and email address, because they do work a normal business hours. I think there's a couple on the weekends now as well. But you're never getting any hold times. You're receiving, they actually work in the same office as me in Austin. So it's just a great team to be able to reach out to. And that's pm-support@vrbo.com. And I can send that in the message as well. But they'll be able to create a case if there's issues going on. They can also create a consult if we wanted to do an integration optimization call with one of our optimization team members. So again, just a great number to have, and there's a phone number as well as email.
Yeah, and Stephanie, do you also want to take that question about how Vrbo compares against other bookings platforms? I think it might be a great opportunity to talk about those few things you mentioned in your answer.
Yeah. So yeah, the question was about comparing us to some other online travel agents, and I said not even comparable. But some of the items that I think are good to list is you do have direct access to people. We have IPM support, integrated property manager support. You have integration optimization. You have Julia, account managers. You have myself to help through onboarding. So there's just so many different contacts and so many ways to actually have conversations with people and not have to do everything via email or just have a really hard time getting called back. And that's a lot of feedback that we've received from other online travel agents. Mm-hmm. We also have the different type of traveler that I talked about. So they're going to be families. They're going to stay longer. They spend more. We've been around for 25 plus years now. I think we're going into our 26. So we have a huge following, but now we're getting all these new travelers going to our site as well because of COVID and the switch from hotels to VRs. So we're just getting a huge following. And then of course we give our property managers control back by allowing them to be the merchant of record when they make that connection with software. So that's, I think, a huge benefit of connecting through Hostfully with Vrbo is you do have the opportunity to be the merchant of record again. Mm-hmm. So those are just a couple.
Just a couple. Yeah, not to mention the fact that, with OTAs, more is typically better, right? And you can use your pricing, you can use your photos, you can use your descriptions to kind of like change the way that you want to think about your listings, but really why not maximize your distribution as much as possible? So what we've seen is that the best in-class property managers that are getting the highest occupancy rates are also on the most bookings platforms. So really there's no reason why you shouldn't actually be working across multiple. But I think those reasons you mentioned, Stephanie, are great reasons, especially if you have properties that are well suited for the type of guests that Vrbo caters to and in markets that Vrbo is going to be driving a lot of marketing towards. So you basically get the firepower of a much bigger organization when working with Vrbo, which is great.
Absolutely. And that's a great call out about getting as much exposure as possible. I mean, it's no cost. Vrbo doesn't charge anything to list on our site. You only are charged that commission when you actually start receiving those bookings. So why not get exposure, get your calendars full. And then when you start receiving those bookings from us, then that's when you'll be charged the small commission, especially compared to other online travel agents.
Yeah, exactly. And every business is different, right? Some like maybe the optimal mix is more dominated by Vrbo reservations, and maybe for another one it's not. But there's no reason to eliminate that upside for your business if you have the opportunity like you do with Hostfully and Vrbo. So that's cool. Will Slickers asked the question. Thanks, Will. If we have a cabin and list it as cabin in Hostfully, should we switch it to house to help it get more traffic on Vrbo? That's a great question.
It really depends where you're located. I have partners with properties that are in the Smoky Mountains. Properties that are listed as cabins, that's one of the highest use filters. So it really depends on your particular location and where you're located. So that comes down to optimization. Again, reach out to your account manager, reach out to the integrated support team. If you don't have an account manager, they can look up that data and get it for you to really make sure that everything's optimized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say just from a marketing consistency perspective, like whether you list it as a house or a cabin, just make sure you're really consistent with the photos and the description to back up whatever you've listed it as, right? Because that's also going to help your conversion.
Absolutely.
As well. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions. Do you guys see any more that you want to cover? I don't see any.
Yeah, I think we got most of them.
Okay, great. Well, it was a pleasure having you both on this call. Love to work with you and give these insights to our property managers so they can use them to make some smart decisions in their business. Thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you to Vrbo, and we're delighted to be hosting this session today. So with that, I'll wrap it up.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.